Okay.
Hey, everybody. We are here to tell you about what happened at the El Paso Marathon. So here we go.
So we dropped our video on Thursday. If you haven't seen it,
Oh yeah, I'll put it up here for you just in case.
it's out there showing the footage of the actual race, our experience on the race.
Correct.
If you didn't make it to the end of that video, just letting you know, we did not finish that marathon.
We did not.
So we're still like emotionally trying to get over that.
Yeah.
We really had convinced ourselves that we could do it. We'll talk about what happened, what went wrong, what was good, what was not good.
I really thought we were going to do it.
I thought we were going to do it. Here's the main thing. Here was the main problem that we had. We took a bunch of sandwiches with us and dates and our peanut butter, oatmeal, honey, raisin, little like chews. By like mile 6, no, further than that, like 8, mile 8.
Yeah.
Neither of us could like swallow any food anymore.
It was the weirdest thing. Now, the only thing different were the dates, but I didn't have a problem with the dates. They were delicious. We've eaten the peanut butter honey white bread
I've done that
sandwiches.
for years.
Yeah.
Like before the two of us ran together, I was using that.
And
as
then we
fuel
did
on
it for
races.
all of our marathons, right? You know, we make a sandwich and then we cut it in 4s and then we put.
We could just
couldn't
even
swallow.
in the very beginning, it's like you're chewing for.
I was like,
a
what's
long
going on?
time.
And it was really weird because, you know, we'd take a little square. It looks like an Uncrustable. Take a little square. And I took a bite, like half of it. And then I realized I've been chewing this for a mile. Because we came up to a mile marker and then another one. I'm like, why am I still chewing? We couldn't swallow. We couldn't swallow.
So
It was the weirdest
dates
thing.
did okay for you. By my second or third date, I gagged. When I was trying to swallow it, I gagged and I had to spit it out. And then my next few sandwiches that I tried to eat, I had to spit out. And so basically we made it, you know, probably half of the race fuel-wise. And then we ran out because we couldn't replenish because we couldn't swallow anything. And so, you know, it was a different kind of bonk than the Disneyland half. This was more of a mental for me. Or actually, you know what, my legs did stop moving.
Yeah. You know, if you can't fuel, right, then all the energy that your body is using and then requiring, well, you're just going to fall apart. And that's kind of what happened. I know, and I'm going to say this because we've been talking about it, cardio, fine.
Yeah, it
Like,
felt
fine.
And my legs felt okay on this one. I didn't cramp. But like I said, they just stopped moving at a certain point. We got to mile 17, and that's when I like started crying. And then like 17 and a half, we just started walking. And we walked until we got ourselves picked up. So we're disappointed, but we're also proud. Like everybody that we talked to, of course, is very supportive.
Thank you all.
You know,
Thank you all for the encouragement. And then thank you for you did great follow-ups because it means a lot to us. And we were pretty down in the
bummed
dumps,
out.
you know.
But we ran 20 miles. We covered 20 miles that day. And if you've been following our journey, you know that a doctor told David in November, you can't run anymore.
At all.
And then a subsequent doctor told him, you can on race day. So we knew that was kind of iffy going into this race, at best, iffy at best going into this race. I think for the next race, because even though on that race, both of us told ourselves and were convinced that we would never run again. Never
It was bad.
run again.
It was bad.
We've gotten over that. We are signed up for another full marathon. At the end of May, we're scheduled to go to Calgary and run that race.
And before we get to, okay, what did we learn? What are we going to do different for Calgary? Another thing that happened, and if you watched our expo video, and if not, I'll put it right here. We didn't know what the actual cutoff times were because initially, as we said, 11:30, you needed to be at mile 20. And then they changed it to 11:15, you need to be on mile 20. And then they changed it to 12:30, and you need to be in mile 22. And then at the expo, the guy basically just said, well, just run fast and you won't get picked up. So that kind of, as we were looking back, that kind of weighed heavily mentally on us, because it's like, yeah, but we're slow. And, you know, anyway.
We were on track for a while.
We did a little too good.
Yeah.
Our first mile for us was a little too fast. We ran an 11:38, and then the next one was a 12, and then a 12. And Laura had her time bracelet on, and I kept asking, how are we doing? And she's like, we're okay, we're okay.
And then suddenly we weren't.
Yeah, and then that's like, oh boy, now
and it's
what?
like, oh, we're not
getting
going to be
tired.
I will say this, that by say mile 10 or so, I had already, with myself, made peace. I was like, I don't care. If they pick me up at mile 20, I do not care. Yeah. I just want this to be done.
Yeah.
So I was already like, I mean, in the end, I was disappointed, but in that moment, I was like, I don't care. I don't care if they get me.
And the other thing that got us is, if you watch the video, the police cars were just like there with us, and that's weird.
At the end, we were the last runners. So our last couple miles, we were walking. Yeah. We met up with a gentleman named Jesse.
Yeah. Hey, Jesse, if you're watching this,
who made the last mile or two bearable because we had some distraction. We got to talk a little bit. But we were the last ones. Yeah. So as we approached, if you notice from our footage, we approached the mile 20 water stop. They were breaking it down. Mm-hmm. I think they were actually packing up the mile 18 water stop too when we passed by it.
That kind of messes with your brain.
So and then at a certain point, David's like, we're being tailed. Yeah. So, I think a little before that, a motorcycle police officer had pulled up beside us, like, you guys doing okay?
Yeah, you guys ready?
Do you need a ride? Are you okay? And we're like, no, we're going to keep walking. Thank you. And then we noticed that there's like a patrol car
right behind us.
Like right by,
like what's that sound?
We're bringing up the rear, man. We were the very end of the race.
So that was
really
weird.
Not great.
No, it wasn't great. It wasn't
a great feeling.
All three of us kind of got the feeling like they want us.
They never swept us.
They didn't.
They never swept us.
We made the decision, but
ultimately we were like, okay, give us a ride.
And then the other thing that made this difficult is they didn't really shut the streets from traffic. So, and they didn't have cones delineating where the runners should be or where they shouldn't. And in some cases, all of us were running in the middle of the road because that's where everybody was.
Where we're supposed to be running.
But as it turns out, a couple of times there was traffic behind us, and we needed to move over to let traffic through. So that was just wrong. And at one point, a car passed next to Laura going.
We were already running in the bike lane.
Yeah, we were in the bike, and she felt the whoosh of the car, and it's like,
and so related to that, this ended up being a pretty small race. I think they had 4,000 runners total, but that includes the 5K that started downtown and the half marathon that started downtown, and ended downtown. We started on the eastern edge of town. Like we were 26 miles from downtown, and so
really out there.
We were out there, and so it was a surprisingly small crowd. Like we're guessing
300.
I don't think our bib number. Oh no, our bib number was in the 200s. I bet it was like 300 something.
Yeah, it wasn't
300 to 400. Like it was a small group. And so when we started, first mile we're together. By the time we get to mile marker 1, we're already like spread out quite a bit. And we're the slow pokes at the back. Yeah. By the time we got to like mile 6, it's like
there's nobody.
There's one person there and like 2 people here. And then by the time, not long after that, it was like us and nobody else. Yeah. And like people at the water stops were like, hey, we got somebody else, because we were like so far apart from everybody. So if you weren't paying attention to the local news and know that there's a marathon going on that day, they're going to think there's a couple of jerks running in the middle of the street holding up traffic when really like that's our route. That's where we're supposed to be. But and like weird. There were some parts, so we ran in the bike lane when we had a bike lane, but then there wasn't a bike lane and we just had to run in the street. And the sidewalk's all jacked, but we don't want to trip on, the slabs and the sidewalk.
You don't want to run on concrete
you don't want to run on concrete. And so, it's like there were other parts too where there were just cars parked on the sidewalk. I mean, sure, they're not going to make everybody move their cars for that entire stretch.
So we had to run. We had to run
around.
So shout out, here's the deal, shout out to all of the encouraging groups along the route because they were from high schools and middle schools.
Local businesses.
And local businesses.
The water stops were actually pretty fantastic for such a small race. Yeah. There was one in particular that was so awesome.
The Pac-Man one.
The Pac-Man one, and like I didn't really get a chance to read the signs. I'm sure there was some like clever stuff in there, but they had this like little like metal band playing. It was one of the local high schools, and they were so good, and it was so much fun. And when I say metal band, it was like a dude on a guitar and a dude with a drum kit, and it was so like so energetic and wonderful.
So shout out to them. You know, for the race organizers, not that any of them care what we have to say. They have some work to do because it just wasn't, it didn't feel safe. And there are some oddities about some of the things we saw, like people with bibs on bicycles.
We also have started getting emails, which is like salt in an open wound, for our race photos, which of course we didn't get any because they only had photographers at the end. But we, just for grins, just in case we missed some photographers, we looked up our bib numbers. We found both of our bibs.
On somebody else?
On other people. So I'm not sure what that's all about.
The exact bib.
Exact bib number. And clearly, like, I was like, oh, is there a 1 missing or something in the front? No, it's...
So both my bib number and your bib number.
And they had different bib colors for the different race lengths. Ours were yellow. It was our bib.
What's that about?
What's that? For both of us. Like, it was just one, like, okay, one. But
both of our bibs being used by 2 other people who happened to cross the finish line.
Yeah.
What? So, yeah, that's race,
a little weird.
We're glad we experienced it. We learned a lot. We're going to talk about that next. But we're probably not going to do that race again.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. So what did we learn? Well, one, that food ain't happening.
We need to fuel. That's what we learned at the end of the last race, but now we're going to figure out a better way to do it.
Oh, and I will say, we did also take salt tabs, and I thanked Chris and Breezy for that because they told us about salt tabs a long time ago. I think that's why I didn't cramp.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because at the half at Disneyland, I was starting to cramp. So the salt tabs work. What are we going to do about fuel? Here's what we're going to try.
We're going to try some gels. All right. We've been anti-goo for a long time. We're not going to use, well, we're not going to start off trying the goo brand. We're going to try honey stingers because the ingredients are
few
and organic when they are something that can be. And I don't know, I feel better about that. So we're going to try the goo because we just need calories. And
we need fuel, man.
We need calories, we need carbs.
Yeah.
And the sandwiches didn't go down, the dates didn't go down. Oh yeah, that was another thing. As we were running, I really, like, in addition to that gaggy episode, I thought for sure I was gonna throw up. So we're passing all these bus stops. I'm like, oh, there's a trash can. Oh, that's a good bush. Oh, that's, like, that's not a great state to be in. So we don't want to do that again.
Though when you didn't see a trash can, you kept running because you needed one. So that kept us going.
Little marathon.
So we're going to try goos in terms of
gels.
Fuel, but in terms of training.
So here's my idea for training. Because, and this was, maybe I couldn't like articulate it when the orthopedic surgeon told you, get your cardio other ways and save your miles for race day. I knew that didn't quite sound right, but I think in this race, I finally put together the missing piece, right? So we know, because we've run marathons before and we've run long races, that you train for it by running. And so being told, no, you can't do that, figure out something else. We tried. We went swimming. We went to the gym, all this stuff.
We went
cycling, the stationary bicycle. We're going to keep doing that stuff. But what we really need to do, I think, is get on our feet for a long time. It's not going to be running because we don't want to throw your knees off.
Right.
But what I'm thinking is we had a pretty tame winter. We would normally have still a few feet of snow on the ground. We don't have any, really. So what that means is the hiking trails should be pretty clear. So whenever we feel like we're recovered enough from the marathon to start hiking, we're gonna start incorporating some hikes and get them longer, theoretically, throughout our Saturdays from now until May, to really just get on our feet, work our way up to 6 hours on our feet, just so we remember what that feels like. That'll give us an opportunity to try the gels
Right.
With movement.
Right.
And here's another thing we learned.
I kind of lost my mind during the run because I was using new water bottles.
They're the ones that I use,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, why don't you try these?
Yeah,
It was a bad mistake.
I hated them,
It was a bad mistake.
and I wanted to throw one of them at one point. So they clip on your clothing or
Yeah,
a
it's
belt.
just like a clippy.
Well,
Yeah.
they kept moving, so I would hit them with my arm when I was running, and it's a weird feeling. You're running, and then what is that? So, and I kept doing it over and over and over, and they were leaking, and we couldn't figure out why. And I'm just like, I'm done. So I think I'm gonna try a Camelback. Not necessarily Camelback brand, but on my back because I hate those water bottles, man.
Yeah, and we thought about it before when we lived in Texas, but I always thought it would be too hot to have that on your back.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the races that we do are still in Florida, where sometimes it can be very hot during those races, but living here, I think we're going to give it a shot.
Yeah, if you've ever used one, please let us know what you think of it.
Or recommendations for a specific style.
If you've tried some and you're like, I'm never going to buy that brand, let us know because we need to get on that. My knees were fine, by the way.
Mostly. They did start to hurt, but I think that's just because we started to get tired and do anything that we could to move ourselves forward.
It wasn't anywhere near the pain.
And it wasn't towards the end, right, that it started out.
Well, and one other thing that was really kind of uplifting for us, other than all of you who sent us comments, again, thank you. We ran our fastest ever half marathon, together. So I was like, wow. And we actually got to mile 20 in 5 hours. If we had any energy left in our bodies, I think we could have run another 6 miles in about an hour. But we didn't have. We were done. And one of the things that was creeping up too is I was thinking, we could push, but that might lead to injury. Our bodies were just not wanting to go anymore. So, I mean, there were a lot of positives, and we feel pretty good about it.
A few more negatives that just occurred to me. I had some weird body issues that I don't normally have. So I put on sunscreen. We live very close to the sun. Like, frankly, we are at a high elevation. So our new life here, we are very
sunscreen,
very consistent and religious about putting on sunscreen. So I put sunscreen on everywhere. I spaced on putting it on my legs. So I had these 3/4 length leggings, and then my little booty socks. So from here to here on my leg, I got wicked sunburn. Like that, was it that night or the next day? I was like, God, why's my leg itch? And I kept scratching. I'm like, oh my gosh. I looked down and it was this color. So I have a super sharp line at the top. If the sun was clearly coming this way, because it's only the back left quadrant of this calf and the back left quadrant of this calf. So the sun was coming this way. And here was the most fun part of all of it. My leggings have little holes, little decorative holes. I don't know why they're there.
They're vent holes.
Oh yeah, that really makes a difference. Well, I have stinking sunburn polka dots on my
it looks pretty cool.
on the back of my calf. So that was the first thing. It's darn, should have remembered to put sunscreen on my legs.
Rookie.
However, even if I had, I put sunscreen on after I get dressed, so I would have still had the polka dot holes. Anyway, so that was the first one. The second one, I chafed, man. I never chafed, and I chafed in the most unfortunate area. It was awful. Oh my gosh. So I don't know, two things happened there that I think may have contributed. The first one was when we were really psyching ourselves up and we're we're packing and getting ready to go to the trip. I have a series of moisture wicking undies that they're Reebok, they're all the same style in a variety of colors. And I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling powerful. I normally wear black or gray, but I'm going to get the hot pink ones because I'm feeling really. I put them on race morning. I'm like, oh no. There was a little bit of elastic, a little bit of elastic that was pushing through. I'm like, oh, this is going to be bad. So that was the first thing. And the second thing, I hate to complain about this at all, but since January, we've been on kind of a reining it in kick when it comes to food and drink.
Oh, yeah.
So December, very celebratory over
yeah.
here. We had a heck of a December,
We
heck of a November, and then January came. We're like, we should probably really not keep those numbers on the scales. So we went back to eating lots of fruits and vegetables, eating out less, fewer sweets, all that stuff. And through all of that, combined with the training I think that we were doing, my hips slimmed down a little bit. Great news, right? Well, my running tights that I always have worn wouldn't stay up this time. I mean, they were up, but they were sagging just enough that the crotch seam was like rubbing my thighs, and so it was a bad seam. It was a bad seam. So but flip side though, I took we have something called Trail Toes. It's like a anti-chafing lube stuff, balm. We took that with us because I got blisters on my feet at Disneyland. That doesn't normally happen. So I just slathered it up on my toes. My feet did great with the Trail Toes.
Oh yeah, no, I did something you're never supposed to do.
I did too.
I ran with brand new socks I had never run before, compression socks, and I was fine.
Your feet
and
felt
they're
good?
great. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and I ran with new shoes. So after we got home from Disneyland, or rather we landed in Denver from Disneyland and had to drive home, my feet were pretty sore on the Disneyland half, and I was like, you know what, these are pretty old shoes. I should probably get some new ones. So we went to a running store in Colorado Springs on our way home. I bought some new shoes. They're like some hybrid, they can work on, they're nubby enough to work on trail, but they're, I can't remember what she said. There's something about the way they're built. The nubs won't wear down on concrete, so you can do both street and asphalt. You can do both street and trail. So I picked up some of those.
And you love
I love these shoes.
Yeah, they're nice.
They're so great. And you know what? We'll take a little footage to show this. This is my favorite feature.
Oh yeah.
I have always tied my shoes, my running shoes, in a bow, and I tuck my laces into my laces. Right. So I tuck the bow into my laces to keep them from coming undone. These shoes have a little elastic strap there for me to tuck my, it is such a brilliant,
I know.
That is listening to the running community and updating features of shoes. I love it.
I wish I had that.
I love
it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that was our journey, and those are our plans for our next one. We're still going to keep going. It was really disappointing, but we know that we did well what we did.
And here's the thing. I told this to one of the other people. So there were the three of us who pulled ourselves, and there was somebody who got picked up behind us who also rode the transport, the van back to the finish line. Yeah. We accomplished more that day than most people even think to try. And that's a big deal.
He really needed to hear that too.
Yeah.
He really did. It was his first marathon.
We needed to be reminded of that too.
Yeah.
Because it was disappointing, but also we ran 20 miles. Yeah. 20 miles.
In 5 hours. That's fast for us.
That is fast for us. So I don't know. I think
we're going to try.
We're going to keep trying.
We're going to keep trying.
We are also in a week or two, we're going to try to register for the Disney World Marathon 2026. Yeah. We have our hotel booked for that already, so we're going to try to go for the marathon for there. Yep. Here's the thing, and we said this while we were out there losing our minds, and Jesse actually agreed with us. Every single marathon we've ever run feels worse than the one before it, and I am determined to break that cycle. I'm tired of everyone, because the first one was hard, and they've all felt worse since then. It's
I know.
Incrementally worse.
Come on, man.
So I think maybe the gels may be the key to cracking this code for us, and our adjustments to training. I am determined to figure this out. And so last night we were talking to some friends, and I was saying that same thing, and they were like, "So when you crack the code, are you going to stop running marathons?" I'm like, "No, then I'm going to run more because I can do it." So
exactly.
This is our quest. This is our quest to not feel like garbage when we try to run a marathon.
Hey, if you like this video, hit like, and if you haven't, please subscribe. And if you hit the notifications bell, you'll get notified anytime we upload, because sometimes we upload on days other than our normal day. One last thing. Yeah, I know, right? One last thing. We had family waiting for us at the finish line that we didn't make. But they are awesome, and their support just was fantastic. And they had this sign waiting for us for when we crossed the finish line. I mean, awesome.
So,
beautifully made.
We did make it to the pizza place after.
Yeah.
Where they gave this to us.
So yeah, we sat down and ate a ton of pizza.
Yeah,
and they
and
gave
also,
us
yeah, Kim and
you.
Sunny, spot on. We did, in fact, go get some pizza and beer
Yeah, that's
after
right.
we cleaned ourselves.
That's right, friends.
So we went to the, we got, transported to the finish line. We could have seen about getting some medals, but we chose not to because, first of all, here, we don't even display our medals. We haven't figured out a good place to hang our medals here in this house anyway. So it's like, we don't.
Didn't really feel right.
We don't need the medal. Even though we did run our fastest half marathon.
Oh, yeah.
So we decided to go back to the hotel, just change our shirt. Like, we didn't clean ourselves up fully. We just changed. And then walked over to this pizza place and then sat down and drank a bunch of beer and ate some really great Detroit style pizza
and got our beautiful sign.
And got our sign.
So that's our recap. Thanks for watching. We're going to continue our training and continue to let you know how that goes because Calgary, here we come.
Yeah.
Ryan, I hope you're ready.
Sorry, buddy. We apparently did have the option to downgrade our registration to a half marathon, and we talked about it, and we're going to stick with it. We're going to do this.
We're going to do it. You know why? Because it is always an adventure with you. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon.